What's up, Taiwan? I'm Erika Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan can boost military spending by 5% next year. Local news agency United Daily is reporting the government is planning to spend an all-time high of just over $19 billion on defense. Taiwan's premier is expected to discuss next year's budget with the cabinet later on Monday and will submit the proposal to the legislature in August. It reportedly includes new spending on missiles and aircraft fitted with early warning radar systems. It's part of Taiwan's plan to strengthen its military to counter increasing threats from China. Taiwan's National Audit Office says over half of the Navy's large warships are not properly or efficiently maintained. The office says 14 of the Navy's 26 largest vessels had delayed maintenance schedules. It says this prolongs the time Taiwan's warships are out of action, affecting the Navy's combat readiness. The office said frequent deployments were the reason for the deficiencies. Oysters, a staple of Taiwanese cuisine, are farmed along the country's west coast. But the effects of Typhoon Gaemi last week devastated the region's oyster farms. Now the government is vowing to offer much-needed support for affected farmers. Wesley Lewis has the details.
Oyster farms laid waste as residents in central Taiwan come to grips with the damage left by Typhoon Gaemi. The storm washed away much of the harvest and left the remaining oysters buried under muddy debris.
There
are more than 500 hectares of oyster fields in this area of Changhua County. Farmers say they were preparing to harvest before the storm came, but now they are left with next to nothing. The central government has promised to greenlight subsidies as soon as the county government releases its report on the damage. They say they will provide around $1,000 per hectare of damaged farmland and will offer up to around $6,000 in low-interest loans.
后端的部分还有所谓的低利贷款。那这一次的部分，农业部对于所谓的半年天灾免息的部分，不管是新贷还是旧贷的部分。
Until then, oyster farmers here are left surveying the damage, with the hope that government aid will help them get back on their feet. Chris Ma and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is still recovering from the aftermath of Typhoon Gaemi, with efforts focusing on fixing transportation links. The state-run Taiwan Railway says repairs on parts of the tracks in eastern Hualien County will be delayed due to heavy rain. And in the southern county of Jiayi, the Alishan Mountain Railway has suspended operations, with many parts of the railroad still buried under fallen trees and broken branches. Both lines are expected to be restored in August. Officials say Typhoon Gaemi broke records with 28 heavy rain warnings issued in 2 days last week. It left 10 people dead and displaced hundreds more. Some residents of Kaohsiung are eligible for typhoon damage subsidies of nearly $1,400. The subsidies are for those living in parts of the southern city where floodwaters from the typhoon reached 50 centimeters. Drivers whose cars suffered fixable flood damage can also apply to be exempted from license plate and other taxes. Kaohsiung suffered extensive flooding during Typhoon Gaemi last week. Around 375 of the city's buildings were affected. Typhoon Gaemi brought millions of US dollars in damage to Taiwan, but it has also helped fill the country's reservoirs, many of which are now close to capacity. To learn more, Chris Gorin spoke with climatologist Shiyu Li of Academia Sinica.
What are some of the benefits that a typhoon can bring to Taiwan's water supply that people might not be aware of?
So first is increase the amount of water we can use as water resources that was stored in the reservoir. So I think it also sort of recharge the groundwaters. That's another sort of natural reservoir for available water resources. And if I wanted to add, maybe one more is it's a hydropower. So I guess we can read from Taipower's publication during the days of typhoon. There are two power generations that spikes high. One is like a wind power, and then the other is hydropower.
Is there a flip side to that? I mean, can a typhoon bring dangers to Taiwan's water supply?
The downside for typhoon is, of course, it caused a huge scale of flooding that we're seeing in the news report. But then I think also because of heavy rainfall, so it also generates very fast runoff. And these runoff are sources of erosions to the river channels. Erode some sediments, and those sediments would decrease the capacity. Says when you have a bucket, and the bottom of the bucket was filled up with sand, those sediments. Yeah, it makes the river channel shallow, or it makes the reservoir being shallower, so that the amount of water that can store in the future becomes smaller.
With the changing climate, are we seeing any changes to the frequency or intensity of typhoons here in Taiwan?
We have probably the same numbers of typhoon, but in terms of strength, it increased since 1980s. But then when we use the same tools that we use to do a climate simulation and trying to project it into the future, we see a decrease in terms of number of typhoon. That sounds counterintuitive. Decrease in terms of number, but then increase in terms of strength and increase in precipitations.
That was climatologist Shi Li of Academia Sinica. Taiwan's health ministry has warned people of an explosion in online ads seeking egg donations abroad. The ads posted on social media offer enticing incentives to young people. But the ministry says it's illegal in some countries, including China, to get paid for donations. The eggs are used in assisted reproductive technology, which is becoming more popular as people in places like Taiwan and China choose to have children later in life. Taiwan's top badminton player, Zhou Tianchen, has claimed his first victory at the Paris Olympics. Zhou faced Mexico's Lino Munoz in his first match of the men's singles, winning 21-17. He's set to face Hong Kong's Lee Chuk-yi on Wednesday. The men's archery team also beat Great Britain to move into the top 8. They will face China next. Meanwhile, Taiwan's women's archery team was eliminated in quarterfinals, losing 2-6 to South Korea. In table tennis, Taiwan lost to China in the mixed doubles event, losing their chance to compete in the quarterfinals. While most eyes are on the athletes competing in Paris, it could be Taiwan's top performing artists that teach the world the most about the country. Our reporter Sandy Chi spoke to Mei Chi-ling, the director of a circus troupe that's making waves at this year's Cultural Olympiad.
So can you tell me, what is it like to perform at the Paris Cultural Olympiad?
当我踏进台湾馆的展演会场的时候，我觉得完全可以感觉到台湾人跟台湾的活力跟活泼，然后在整个台湾馆里面流动跟绽放。目前的观众跟幕后的工作人员，每一个人都面带笑容，所有人的凝聚力跟目标都是同一个，就是要为整个选手、整个台湾的选手或者全世界的选手在加油打气。
And while you were performing there, what kind of feeling did you get? What was the atmosphere like with all the people around you?
第一天我们的环境其实蛮恶劣的，是因为刚好那天巴黎下大雨，又非常的冷。目前的观众，大家是撑着雨伞看，然后但非常多人，我没有料到下这么大的雨，台下的观众还迟迟的继续的支持着台上的表演者，我就觉得这就是台湾人。台湾人真的有一种非常强大、很坚韧的精神。然后我在同样是同台演出的其他表演团体身上看到这样的浓烈，跟观众身上看到这样浓烈的一个情感，在我们周遭的流动的时候，我是觉得很有一种我是台湾人，我也要站在这个土地，让世界看见台湾的感觉。
That was Mei Chi-ling, director of the eye-catching Circus, speaking from Paris. Taiwan's renowned singer-songwriter Abao is also in Paris performing at the Cultural Olympiad. Abao, a member of the Indigenous Taiwan community, stands out among the over 120 Taiwanese artists performing at the event. She says her mission in the French capital goes beyond showcasing Taiwanese culture and that she aims to deliver a powerful message of unity in a diverse array of styles and languages. Her performances with her group have captivated audiences and garnered widespread attention and praise.
我觉得他们很 enjoy 在我们的音乐里面，然后我觉得很棒，真的很棒哎！因为其实观众的身体不会骗人，他们喜欢他们就会跟着动，啊不喜欢他们就会离开。我觉得蛮好的，就谢谢他们就是接受我。
Yet another unique Taiwanese act at the Cultural Olympiad is a DJ who spins indie rock and mando pop grooves. Yvonne Yang brings us this report.
A DJ set in a bookstore, not your typical venue nor the type of electronic dance music you'd expect. Meet Elvis Lin, a music magazine editor turned indie rock DJ. He has spun records in unexpected places, including Taiwan's presidential office. This summer, he's representing Taiwan at the Paris Cultural Olympiad. Lin's first gig was at a friend's birthday party in 2009. He fell in love with DJing immediately.
其实就后来就发现，哦，真的有点爱上这个职业，因为它跟写稿有点不太一样的是，它可以马上得到听众的反应。
But how does an indie rock DJ get to represent Taiwan at the Cultural Olympiad? As a cultural trend, we can trace it back to the mid-2010s when musical genres began to blur and DJs were starting to include indie rock and metal pop on their playlists.
我觉得其实关键点应该是在于独立摇滚或者是 indie 这一块，在台湾已经慢慢被主流大众开始接受，因为大家已经渐渐没有在听主流的东西了，或者是独立乐团已经变成跨主流，所以很多主流大众开始来听这个东西。
Soon after, more and more DJs across Taiwan began spinning mando pop and indie rock songs at underground venues, attracting growing numbers of fans. In the past 5 to 6 years, many of these DJs have found themselves on the bill at indie music festivals alongside the bands. Inspired by DJ Spiky, Lin started mixing mando pop songs into his indie rock sets.
因为 DJ 文化有很重要的就是无缝接轨，就是他接过去哇，好顺，好 smooth， 觉得很好玩，所以我那时候就开始说，哦，那我想要来试试看，我也想要把这些华语我以前听的东西，把它放到我的 set。
Lin will bring that spirit to Paris as he prepares to mix Taiwanese indie rock and mando pop songs with music by French artists, such as electronic music pioneers Daft Punk and indie rockers Phoenix.
因为其实他们法国人很喜欢有 grooving 的东西 ，groove， 然后我就想到，哦，台湾有什么东西是有 groove， 可能是像糯米团，像宝岛材料行啊，或者是像青虫啊。 那我觉得哦，可以把这些有 groove 的东西也带到巴黎去，然后去跟他们的音乐去做结合。
Elvis Lin is ready to spin and groove his way to Paris, showing off a unique blend of Taiwanese music on the world stage. Kaohsiung and Yvonne Yang for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out this Paris Museum clock room transformed into an Airbnb for the Olympics opening ceremony. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.